Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the SportsIntel.com podcast. It is Tuesday, September 22nd. We have just completed week 2 of the NFL season. A very boring Sunday in the NFL. Nothing happened. No, everything happened, and we're going to talk about it all today. We might even sneak in a little NBA. Is anybody even still following the NBA after what's been happening with football this weekend? I guess so. I am a little bit. I'll be back with it tomorrow. But let's dive right in. We got the whole gang is here. Matt is here. Vic is here. Eric is here. I'm here. And we want to kind of go back and go over the highs and lows of week 2. Where to start? I know where I want to start because I have 2 fantasy teams. I am in 2 leagues. And in one league, I have Saquon Barkley. And in the other league, I have Christian McCaffrey. So you can and my wife is in one of the leagues with me, and she has the 49ers defense. So we had a tremendous weekend watching football. Wow, I tell you, Eric, you said it. You've been writing about it. You've been warning us about it. Even before the season started, that the issue was not going to be the virus. It was going to be all the injuries. And boy, week 2 proved you right. Is this something we better start getting used to, that this is just the beginning?
If there were anything that I could have gotten right, I really would not have chosen this. It was brutal this weekend. There's no doubt. There's no other way to say it. The number of injuries seen across the league is just unbelievable. We're going to see more. This is really when the teams are preparing for the season. They didn't get the proper preparation ahead of the regular season start, and they're now trial by fire, right? I mean, they're in the thick of it and trying to work out the kinks that should have been figured out before the season started. I don't think we'll see the numbers, right? The large number of injuries we saw this past weekend. I think teams are going to get smart and start preparing a little bit better, addressing more the preparation and conditioning before the games. But we'll still see some over the next couple of weeks or so.
Yeah, it is. It's like this is, in some ways, this was preseason week 2. And we all know for years and years and years, guys go down in the preseason. We always, it's like we say, never draft your fantasy draft before the preseason is over, because people are going to get hurt. But now it's happening in the regular season, and it's devastating. But it's also, from a fantasy aspect, of course. But now look what's happening to some of these teams. I mean, the 49ers. I mean, look, it's hard enough to repeat when you're full strength, but I mean, they're. I think it might be over for them. I mean, that their defense is the calling card, and now they're missing so many of their top defensive players, and Mostert got hurt. I mean, it's really what a devastating day for the 49ers, maybe more than anyone else. The Giants and the Panthers weren't really expected to do much, but you got to wonder now if the 49ers are out of the mix. And Vic, I guess the other question I would ask you is, how do odds makers deal with all this when you have team altering injuries like this? I mean, how does that play into how lines are created, and are they able to keep up?
It's interesting. This year, more than every other year, I think is a little bit different, and that's expected. Normally, they have kind of a chart per player, right? So the quarterbacks are the big dogs, and they're the only ones that really move a line, multiple points, 4 to 7 points. Otherwise, running backs, wide receivers, I mean, it could be Odell Beckham, and he might only shift the line a half a point or a point on a weekly spread. But this year, I mean, to your question, I think it gets a little trickier because there's multiple injuries, right? Like you're dealing with the Niners, for instance. Their strength is their defensive line. Now they're missing their best defensive lineman. On top of that, maybe their quarterback and maybe both of their first two running backs, right? So, who knows how these lines are going to fluctuate. I did kind of look at the look-ahead lines and then look at this week's line. And I will say we'll use the Niners again, just for your example. And the line hasn't moved as much as I thought it would. And again, these guys are, pretty normally stick to their charts and what they think these players are worth. But the line is maybe about 1.5 points different than what it was, before all the injuries.
If you were going to advise the general bettor out there, what part of the bet is more likely to be taken advantage of? Because is it the spreads or is it the over-unders?
So the spread and the over-under usually accounts for injuries, right? Like that's already something that they build in, caked in. I would try to look at player props. I think that's a area where you might be able to exploit the books a little bit, just because they're so focused on the spreads and the over-unders, right? But to answer your question, just between those two, I would look more specifically at the over-unders, because the spreads, I mean, they have this down to a science. Even if the guys are hurt, right? They understand how to move the markets, how much these guys are really worth. But the over-unders, there have been known in the past to kind of, you can exploit those a little bit if you get them early or if you get them late. And then player props, I think, is the real place where you can really maximize some of your output and really make some money. The other problem then is it depends where you're betting, right? Because if you're betting on an offshore or local, they might cap your player props to like $50 or $100. If you're in Vegas, those are some different ball players out there and different rules and different games, right? So, again, they know how to limit their exposure, right? That's why Vegas has all the nice billion-dollar hotels and casinos, and all of us are in our houses right now. Otherwise, we'd be on an island if it was easy, right? But that's how I see it, and that's what I'm going to look at some player props this week as well.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what we witnessed among of the players that actually played. Matt, we'll start with you. Let's go around the room. What was your big takeaway from week 2? What stood out to you about Sunday or Monday's or even last Thursday's action?
Some surprising quarterback play. I would say that guys, especially Herbert, really impressed me, filling in for Tyrod Taylor. I do find it odd that the Chargers seem to want to stick with Taylor after that performance, but whatever, they have a plan in place, so go for it. Aaron Rodgers looks like a new player after last season's iffy play. Everybody's already calling for him to win the MVP, along with Russell Wilson, who also looked phenomenal. So I got to say I'm surprised with the caliber of high quarterback play right now without the training camps that we've seen. And I guess injuries have been kept to a minimum on quarterbacks. I guess what's his name? We just touched upon that went down for the 49ers. But
Garoppolo. Yeah. Jimmy G.
Oh, and also for the Broncos, who also had a really rough weekend of injuries. But other than that, I think I'm surprised with the high level of quarterback play from guys that I wasn't expecting it necessarily. Kirk Cousins struggling doesn't surprise me too much, but so I guess that's what I took away from this weekend.
Eric, what was your what stood out to you?
I've got to come back to what I've talked about several times already. I'm not seeing what everyone else is seeing out of Newton yet. He was expected to bring a lot of good things to the Patriots. He did okay, but look at his failure in trying to get the last running touchdown of the game. It was a clown act completely. It's not the Cam Newton that everyone had seen a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, he would have busted through the defense and walked it into the end zone. But here he is doing a somersault 3 yards out of the goal line. There was no real attempt to get in. He stopped as soon as somebody touched him. I still have to say that he's just not going to bring the caliber that the Patriots really had expected.
That's a hot take right there. That is a hot take. Because I thought he looked phenomenal. I mean, I guess the last play, but the 59 minutes and 30 seconds before that, I mean, he looked like the old Cam. I mean, I thought I was really impressed. I thought he looked really good. You know,
He did okay, but the thing is, he should have done better. He should not have had to get into that situation, right? If he had brought the talent and the experience that the Patriots were hoping he would bring, then the Pats would not have been put into that position to be forced to try to punch it in at the end of the game.
Well, now is that Cam's fault or is that the defense's fault? I mean, Russ
A little bit
throwing
of
for
both.
5 touchdowns.
A little bit of both.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Cam is the first place I would go if I were going to critique the Patriots' performance the other night. I thought, and again, and look at, they still have like no weapons. I mean, they have Edelman. They, there were, and a horrible situation with James White the other night.
Yeah.
But he's not there. I mean, he's an important part of what they're doing. Again, the fact that the Patriots even were in the game and had a chance to win it at the end. I think most of the teams in the league, that's a 35-17 game. The way the Seattle offense was, they're cooking. Russ is cooking, and they're letting him cook, and he was cooking up all kinds of things the other night. I don't know. I think Cam. Look, he's obviously not. You're right. I mean, he's not the player he was, when they went to 3 years ago, 4 years ago when they went to the Super Bowl. But that was pretty. And he looked like he was like, he was checked in. I mean, he was playing. I mean, it wasn't like I felt like last couple of years he just kind of looked kind of checked out, and he looked like mentally he's all in. And yeah, all right, they faltered there at the end, but if I'm a Patriots fan, I'm pretty happy about that. That's a loss I can live with, but we'll see, and it's a long season. And but Cam was not, to me. Cam was not I'm way more concerned for the Patriots on the defensive side of things. Even Stephon Gilmore, I mean, just was getting torched. So that if they're going to give up 35 points a game, yeah, they're going to have some issues. But we'll see. You're right though. That last play, I mean, was certainly not the way they drew it up. Vic, what do you got? Definitely not. What do you got, Vic?
I got a lot of stuff, and maybe you already have this on your agenda, but that Falcons usual 28-3 Super Bowl to this, I mean, what were they doing on that onside kick, man? And so that was an insane comeback. That was one of the best comebacks I've seen in football. And of course, we're all kind of the same age. Matt is a little younger, but we've seen some crazy ones, right? But that was nuts, and that could have changed Dallas's season, man. And it's going to be interesting to see if the Falcons are now kind of deflated or if they're going to be okay. But just that comeback, I loved what I saw from Burrow and Herbert. To Matt's point, just a couple of young guys stepping up and really balling out. I thought that was pretty cool. And the Bears got lucky again. My Bears, they should have probably lost that game. They can easily be 0-2, but they're 2-0, and I think 7 teams get in this year, right? So to start off 2-0 is pretty big for the Bears. And the last big thing I was going to say is I thought Cam looked good, Eric. For them to be in that game at Seattle after Russell Wilson threw 5 touchdowns, and this is not the same Patriots defense, right? Unfortunately for them, because of COVID, they had a lot of big guys out and injuries as well. So to go neck and neck, I didn't think a lot of people even expected them to hang around in this game. So for them to kind of be there at the end, I thought he did just enough to play well. Like, can he be better? Yes, but I think we all talked about it maybe a month ago where we don't expect him to be the old Cam, right? So for us to get kind of that out of him, I thought that was pretty good. And then, of course, the injuries, right? It's going to be – I think everyone's dealing with it across the board. It's going to be interesting to see how all of these teams bounce back. The teams that have depth and good coaching are the ones that are going to be there because no matter what, I think it was week 2, but, before the season's done, every team is going to have 1 or 2 key guys missing. So let's see what happens when it comes playoff time. And Buffalo looks good. Green Bay look good again. The Rams look good. That's the last touching point I'll have is I want to get your guys' thoughts on Carson Wentz. So to me, he looked horrendous that game. I had the Eagles. I had money on them. I had them in contest. So I'm watching this game. Red zone interceptions, turnovers. He's been a fumbling machine. And so He had a great year a couple of years ago, but since then, he's looked pretty bad to me. So I want to kind of get your guys' take, if that's okay, Jeff, for me to throw a question out to you guys.
Vic, you can do whatever you want. We're a team here. It's team sport intel.
Someone take that.
I will just as far as Carson Wentz goes, I think the thing that we have to keep in mind is that offensive line is still that's not they're Lane Johnson is back, but they're still missing people on the line, which I think is part of the problem there. I mean, maybe Carson Wentz just he didn't look. I thought even last year, until toward the end of the season, he early in the year he didn't look particularly good, and he was still coming off the injury from a couple years ago, maybe, but I think the big problem for the Eagles right now is that their offensive line is just decimated. So they've played two teams now that are what their defensive strength is getting after the quarterback. So maybe if they start playing a team that doesn't really have a pass rush, maybe that'll help him. So that would be my explanation for why Wentz is struggling. I just think, and I didn't really see much of, I saw a lot of the Rams offense. I didn't really see a lot of what was happening, so I don't even know. Maybe I'm not, maybe that wasn't really what was happening, and maybe his protection was good. I don't know. But I would imagine the state of their line can't be helping him too much. There's my take.
No. Yeah, I agree with you, Jeff. I think that their line is not doing them any favors at all. But even when he did have time, I didn't see him making the right decisions. He looks a little flustered out there. I mean, I don't know what his first game was, but this is under 250 yards, 2 interceptions. And now the Eagles are 0-2 coming out to start the season. And that division sucks. Like, they could really run away with it, and they lost to the Washington football team, whatever. But, like, I mean, what a mess they've come into so far, and this is a perfect opportunity for them to just kind of coast into the playoffs here, and they're really messing it up. And I think a lot of it has to do with him. And I don't know. I've never been a huge fan of his, to be honest. And I don't know. We'll see. And being a slow starter is okay. I don't know. When you said that, it was like I thought Mark Teixeira back in the day is the Yankees' first baseman, a guy who's slow to start with, but that doesn't work when you're a franchise quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. Eric, did you want to jump in on? Do you want to pile on Carson Wentz, or are you going to leave him alone?
I can't really add anything that hasn't already been said. There's a lot to still work out, and he has some possibilities this season. I think that they're still just trying to work out the kinks, as are most teams. So it'll be interesting to see how he does over the next couple of games.
Yeah. I got two things from that Atlanta-Dallas game that I want to we're going to take another poll. So I'm going to start with one. I'm going to ask all you guys. I want your thoughts on this first, and then I got my hot take of the week. They're down. Dallas is down 15 about 6 minutes to go, and they score. Okay, so now they're down 9, and they went for 2. Smart to go for 2 in that situation, or should they have kicked and then gotten down 8 and take their chances at the end of the game? Let's go for the 2 with 6 minutes to go, or go for 2 at the end of the game. Which was what? I'm curious. What do you guys think?
I think going for 2 was the right move, right? You can't argue with the results, right?
Right. Well, yeah. Anyone else? Because I'm hearing a lot of criticism of them for doing that, and I have a feeling. I think 2 things. So essentially, I think the 2 things I want to talk about are tied together. I think we're going to see 2 changes in strategy philosophy. You know how the league works. Once one thing works, then everybody else starts doing it. It's a copycat league. I think we're going to start seeing teams when they get down like that, like down 15, and they have that. Oh, we need to, we got to kick 1 extra point and go for 2 with the other. They're going to start going for 2 on the early one. So I think they recognize what Dallas recognized, which is that if you miss the 2-point conversion, you're better off missing it with 6 minutes to go when you can still react to that and try to, figure out how to win, than going for 2 with 20 seconds to go when you need it, and then you don't get it, and then you're completely screwed, right? So I think people are going to start coming around, and you're going to start seeing that more. Like, that's going to be a trend. But here's my other thing, and you guys already, some of you mentioned it. I'm giving the Atlanta kicking squad there a pass. I do not blame them for not recovering that onside kick. And I think two things there. One, like, I think you're going to start seeing teams that, like, I think that's like the cheat code has been figured out here. That if you want to recover the onside kick, you just got to squirt the ball along the turf. You don't try to high bounce it. They're always trying to high bounce it, and then maybe somebody can run or you can get it. No. You're going to start seeing teams doing what Dallas did there, where they're going to, like, skitter the ball slowly up toward the 10 yards. Because I would imagine special teams coaches probably tell their guys, if the ball hasn't gone 10 yards, don't jump on it, especially if it's all fluttering around and spinning around like that. Chances are you're going to, like, try to grab it like Leon Lett in the in the snow 30 years ago, whatever it was, and you're going to touch it, and then the other team's going to recover it. And since you touched it ahead of 10 yards, it's a live ball. So don't touch it before it goes 10 yards. So that thing was just kind of like puttering along like a John Rahm 60-foot putt, right? And so they're not touching it because they're probably told not to touch it. But then it went 10 yards. And then all of a sudden now the Dallas guys had boxed out the Atlanta guys and they could just fall on it. And I think that's how I think teams are going to still be like, don't touch the ball until it goes 10 yards, and hoping that it's just going to stop spinning. Like it's like a foul ball, like a foul ball going down the third baseline, and you, like, let it roll foul, right? Teams are going to, like, want to hope the ball's just not going to go the 10 yards. I don't understand why the Atlanta people are getting killed for not touching the ball. If the guy had run out 7 yards and like dove on it and didn't get it, they would have probably cut the guy, right? So I don't know what Atlanta was supposed to do there that they didn't do, except that they just didn't box out the Dallas guys once the ball reached 10 yards. And I think that's what teams are going to start doing now. I think that's how you recover an onside kick now. Thoughts?
I agree with you. My point is they should have done a better job of boxing those dudes out or hitting them.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of time you got to take out that front layer, right? And then just chop them. That's a part of their job as well. I agree with you that, they've been probably told that 1,000 times because all those coaches grew up with that Leon Lett incident and they know what happened back then. And you're right. But I think they still should have done a better job. I mean, this is the game, right? It was improbable, and you're right. It was a beautiful kick, and it was a great strategy and execution. I do agree. A lot of teams are going to do that just because the onside rules have changed, so the numbers have been down. Right. So this is the cheat code to bring it back. And I agree with you there. And with going for 2, I think it was the right call. The proof is in the pudding. Dallas did it, right? And so, like you said, other teams are going to be copying that. Numbers guys, math guys have always been a proponent of this, right? A lot of old school people, were staying away. Let's keep it a one-score game, motivate our players until the end. There's a lot of little things that go into it, but I do agree with you. I think both of those things are going to be new trends moving forward.
Yeah. I just think, I'm sure that all those Atlanta guys were like, yeah, don't touch the ball. And, it was hard to tell. Was it going to go 10 yards or not? And it only went, ultimately it went like exactly 10 yards or 10 and a half, and then they jumped on it. You are right. They should have at least, instead of standing there looking at it, like, oh, look at that. Look at the way it's spinning. They should have at least been, like, cognizant of where the Dallas guys were so that when it did finally get to 10 yards, they could fall on it. But I think this idea that they, like, completely blew that, I don't know. I like, or that they should have jumped on it before it got 10. There's no way that they are not coached that way. And I think Dallas, to their credit, exploited that. And so I think you're going to see a lot of these little squibbly kicks now. Because the old method doesn't work anymore because you can't run up to the line and you can't, like, load on one side. So you got to find something else, and they found something that works, or at least worked. I guess we'll have to see if teams start doing it and it doesn't work, then they'll have to try to figure something else out. But yeah, boy, Dan Quinn, man. I don't know. Sometimes you just got to wonder what these guys are thinking. So yeah. Oh, so one more for me. Last night, and I had said, and I understand Michael Thomas didn't play, but I guess that's the point. I have bad feelings about these Saints. You know, they were kind of anointed they were going to be the NFC champs this year, and I don't know. And certainly with Michael Thomas not there, boy, they look like they have no idea what to do. I mean, other than just get the ball to Alvin Kamara. But you know, I fully expected Jared Cook to have a big game last night. He was almost non-existent. Emmanuel Sanders might want to think about television. I mean, useless. You know, and they can only use you know, their backup quarterback jackknife guy. You know, so I don't know. I think until they get Michael Thomas back, I think they're in a world of hurt. And I mean, they looked terrible last night. And that's not like that's a great Raiders team. I mean, good for them. They look good. And it's going to be. I can't wait to see them against the Patriots this week, just to see like are they for real. But I think New Orleans has got some real problems. Anybody want to defend the Saints?
You know, it's a shame that it's a shame that they had to put so much pressure on Thomas to lead them this year, knowing that, you know, an injury is only ever one step away, right?
Right.
And Breeze was certainly not in the game last night. He started well, you know, he did what he normally does, but just really after the first quarter seemed to exit mentally and never could regain his rhythm for the rest of the game. He tried a couple of times, you know, he fought, but at the end of the night, I just think the Raiders outperformed the Saints all the way around. It wasn't just the Saints being without Thomas or Breeze not being in the game. The Raiders did a better job on the field.
To your point, Jeff, I agree with you a little bit, and they're in a lot of trouble without Michael Thomas. That's why I took the Raiders as my pick of the week on SportsIntel, right? In my article and my video yesterday. The biggest reason how Michael Thomas changes the game is Drew Brees' arm is just not the same. He's a legend, right? One of the best quarterbacks of all time, but he can't get the ball downfield. Now, without Michael Thomas there to extend the field, all of these teams are going to play up on him, just like we saw yesterday in the second half, right? He came out with a nice scripted touchdown. They had a couple of great drives, but a lot of teams are going to dare Breeze to beat them over the top now, and you're going to see more and more of that. To your point, Jeff, copycat league, right? Like everyone knows, like Michael Thomas is not there to stretch us out. Let's just stuff the box and see if Breeze can beat us. In years past, he could. I just don't think he has that arm strength anymore to be able to do it. So, and they're going to play the Bucs, and now the Bucs are in the cruising seat, in my opinion, with the Saints without Michael Thomas. And it's a high ankle sprain, so he's going to be out maybe another 4 weeks. And then when he comes back, he's going to be hobbled as well. He's not going to be the same Michael Thomas. So they're in trouble, Jeff. You had talked about it preseason a lot. To me, the reason why I picked the Saints was just their balance, right? They have really good defense, very good defensive line, very good offensive line. But without Michael Thomas, man, it's going to be tough. All the teams we see going forward are going to play them the same way.
Yeah, how about Sunday night? So do we know I guess it's too early to know if Devonta Adams is going to play. I'm not sure what his hamstring status was coming out of the game. Like, could you imagine? So NBC's got Packers Saints Sunday night, and it's going to be the Michael Thomas less Saints against the Devonta Adams less Packers, and we're going to see two offenses. Can they function? You know, they have great running backs, but can they function without these two great wide receivers in the game? It'll be interesting to see. I would imagine the Packers would probably still be the better team because I think their other wide receiver pieces are better. But it'll be interesting to see how defenses would attack the Packers if Adams isn't out there. They got it. I saw somebody on Twitter was like, "Oh, Michaels has got to be like, wait a minute, Monday Night Football against the Chiefs and the Ravens, and we got this one." You know, like who set that schedule? So speaking of that, any Vic, or Matt, or any of you guys, Eric, any quick thoughts on Week 3 to start the week? What are we thinking about? What looks good? Anything, especially with all these injuries and trying to factor that in? Is there a game? Is there a line that stands out early? like I think the over under on that Packers Saints game we're just talking about, I think it's still like 51.5. Like, boy, I'll take some under on that. But anything standing out to you guys? Start with you, Vic.
I'm excited for Monday Night Football. Chiefs Ravens. I think that's going to be the game of the week, and it's going to be a show. I'm excited for my Bears, but I'm a little nervous. The Falcons give up like 28, 29 points a game. Can the Bears offense even get 3 touchdowns? As of now, I don't think so. And so that's going to be interesting to see. And the two last things I'll leave you guys with is I'm leaning the Buffalo Bills and the New York Giants. And the reason why is the travel and everything is messed up for the Niners and the Rams. They're kind of stuck east for a couple of weeks now. And both of those lines are a little fishy, right? Especially the Niners line, short road favorites. But the Niners were really concerned about playing on that field last weekend, had a lot of injuries, and now they got to play on this field again this weekend. And everyone's hammering the Niners. The Giants, although they're 0-2, I watched both of those games. They could have easily beaten the Bears and the Steelers. And so I like the Giants and I like the Bills, man. Their defense is legit. I'm still not that sold on the Rams. I did predict the Rams to have a bounce-back year like the Bears, but I think this is a tough spot for them on the road, and they're a little overinflated. So those are two of the teams that I like early in a couple of the games I'll be watching.
All right. I love the taking the over on that Rams-Bills game. Like, I think it's 48. Well, I think there's going to be some points. There's going to be some long touchdowns, I think, coming up in that game. I know the Bills have a good defense, and they both do, but I think they're both susceptible to giving up big plays, and I think Josh Allen's just going to be winging it all over the place. I love the over in that game. Bills and the over. That's a parlay you might want to think about. Anyone else have a game that they see on the schedule that they're excited about? I'm interested in that Raiders-Patriots game just to see like which of these two teams is for real. Matt, anything standing out to you early, line-wise or just game-wise?
Line-wise, the only thing is I kind of like the Bucks going in playing in Denver. Denver is obviously hurting right now, and I think the Bucks need a game to really prop themselves up. I'm shocked that they're even won. I don't know. I'm interested to see how Brady responds to his lackluster start, and I think it's a perfect opportunity for them. I think the line's 6 right now, so I don't see them having too much trouble getting there.
And they get Godwin back.
Other than that, I haven't. Also, that was starting off. We were talking about fantasy. I woke up. I wasn't really paying attention, I guess, over the weekend. I woke up Sunday morning and, oh, good, Godwin's out of my fantasy lineup. And then, wake up on Monday and Barkley's gone for the year. So things are looking great for me.
I hear you, man. Yeah, I have Barkley and Godwin on the same team, too. Yeah, I didn't win this week.
Like, damn, I don't know. Like, I was like, I could have done no wrong. And then, turns out. But
I had it even with my Barkley Godwin lineup, I actually had a chance going into last night. And I had Jared Cook. And the guy I played had Waller. And so that took care of that. Yikes. I wound up getting blasted. Eric, what do you like? What game stands out to you already?
Obviously the Ravens-Chiefs matchup should be very interesting. And I'm curious. I have to see if the Raiders win over the Saints was a fluke or not. And we'll see that, this week without a doubt. If we say that typically the preseason has 4 games and this year there was no preseason, then what we're seeing right now is essentially the preseason, right? These 4 games through week 4 are going to determine how the rest of the season, what remains of it, will play out. And there's still a lot of that has to be done for the teams to really pull things together. Brady got off to a shaky start, but he's always a comeback winner. I think Tampa Bay is going to turn around, and the Titans are getting off to a fairly good start as well. So this weekend is going to really turn up the heat a little bit across the league, and start to set the pace for how the teams perform for the rest of the season.
So none of you have any love for that Miami-Jacksonville game, huh?
No.
No, you're not going to.
I
Not.
a little bit. I got a little love, man. I took Miami last weekend, and
Yes.
they helped me collect, man. So, and I love Minshew Magic. So I'm actually like intrigued to see what both of these games play. I know they're kind of like dumpster fire teams, and there's usually some games that you turn off the TV or you go spend time with family on Sundays, right? So you can like catch the games that you want to catch. But I like Miami, man. They got a good coach, and they've been playing well. They're in a lot of games, but Minshew is Minshew, and his Magic second half has always been fun. So I don't have a pick on that game, but I am interested in watching it, Jeff. How about you? Why did you bring up that game?
I just had to laugh because it does on paper. You just look at it and go, ugh. Well, I will tell you one thing, Vic. Don't wait till Sunday to watch that game because it's Thursday. That's a Thursday night.
Man,
that's a Thursday night game.
Oh, no wonder, man. Oh, then I might keep it and put in the brownie time, so I can watch more football on Sunday.
We get the great games on Thursday night, as you know.
Yeah,
I love Miami. I don't know if I would like put my mortgage on it or anything, but I Miami's actually doing some good things. They're hanging around in their game, and Minshew Magic, please. Jacksonville's terrible. It's only like the line's only like 2.5. It's not a big line, so I love Miami. I'm on the Dolphin bandwagon at least for one Thursday night. But that's a Thursday night game. That's what you get to look forward to on Thursday. Dolphins, Jacksonville. Whew. So, wow. Well, I guess before we go, there are other sports in the world besides the NFL. I know, Eric. I know it's hard to believe, but there are other sports besides the NFL. Is it all over for Denver? Now look? I said it last week. Denver will probably try to lose 3 of the first 4 games, so they can be down 3-1. So then they can do their thing. So they're down 0-2. Is it finally over? Is it over? LeBron is pissed. He didn't win the MVP. Pissed. Rondo is like old Rondo again. I mean, the Lakers finally is the magic carpet ride over for the Joker?
No.
No.
I took Denver Nuggets today as my video pick of the day, and I think the Nuggets are a resilient squad, and they're going to bounce back. They got the Lakers right where they want them, like you said, Jeff. But they had that game, man. They were not scared. They're a great second half team. They didn't look scared. I think that's the biggest thing. They're not intimidated at all, and they're going to hang around today. I wouldn't be surprised if they won this game straight up. So I'm going to bet a little bit on the money line tonight. And I think the series is going to go a lot longer than people think. A lot of people are talking sweep now on Twitter after last game, but to me, it's going to go at least 6.
All right. So what was the biggest failure? The Falcons not recovering that onside kick, or Plumlee not getting over and getting a hand in Davis's face?
Man,
who had the worst weekend?
They're both equally as terrible. I'll let you guys answer that.
I think I gotta go with Plumlee there. Where were you, dude? You had one job. You had one job. But we'll see. I don't know. I think the Lakers are gonna win tonight. I just think they're gonna be. They're not. They know what's happened. They were there. They're in the bubble. They're watching these games like everybody else, and I think they know like we cannot let this team off the mat because they've got special voodoo powers when you leave the door open. So I think they're gonna shut the door on them tonight. Go up 3-0, and then I think that'll break Nuggets spirit, and it's probably gonna be a sweep. And then we can worry about my boys tomorrow night, and I don't know what to expect anymore. But we can talk about them on Friday. When we will be back on Friday, we will take another look at Week 3. We'll have some picks. We'll make some jokes. But I think at the end of the day, we're going to try to help everyone have a profitable weekend. So we're going to say goodbye for now. Go Lakers. Ugh, I hate to say that.
Go Nuggets.
And yeah. So for Vic and Eric and Matt, I'm Jeff. We're SportsIntel.com. Thank you, and we'll see you on Friday.
See you, fellas.
Okay.